Hello and welcome to episode 16 of Teach Me How. Today I'll be explaining how to defeat the Ninth Sister on Jedi Grandmaster without taking damage. This guide is not intended to be an explanation or debate on the best way to defeat this boss without damage, but more so an explanation of how and why I did what I did in my world first 100% no damage run. As with all of my other boss guides, I'll start with an explanation on her abilities and how to avoid the damage, then an explanation of how to do the strategy, and finally an example of the fight without commentary. So with that said, let's get started. There are two phases to this boss encounter. During phase 1, you'll primarily deal with 3 different combo attacks. The first is an unblockable spin attack. Simply dodge roll 45 degrees through her to avoid this damage. The second is a force push. This attack starts with her force pushing you back and then leaping into the air for an unblockable attack. Simply guard as she extends her arm out to block the attack and the knockdown, and then dodge roll the unblockable to avoid the damage. Last is a 3 or 4 hit combo. Both begin with an underhand swing. You can perfect parry this or hold guard until the last hit is complete. Either way is acceptable. During phase 2, the Ninth Sister will gain the use of many different abilities. I want to start first with her various saber attacks. Since there are quite a few different combos she can use, I'll simply say this. Hold guard for anything that is not unblockable. And any unblockable attack she does within these combos, dodge roll 45 degrees through her to avoid taking damage. Up next is Charge. This ability is health dependent, meaning prior to reaching roughly 40% HP, when she charges she'll only do it once. After 40% HP, she'll start to charge once, then turn around and charge again. No matter the amount of charges, simply dodge roll right or left to avoid taking damage. Saber Leap is next, and this one is fairly easy to avoid. She does have another version of this that is more of an unblockable impale, but no matter which she does, simply dodge roll out of the way as she's beginning to land the attack to avoid taking damage. Next up is Saber Throw. To avoid taking damage from this attack, you'll want to just hold guard. Easy enough. Next up is Saber Spin. As this attack begins, she holds the saber in front of her with both hands and the saber will start to rev up. She'll then thrust the saber out forward and hold it there for a brief moment. To avoid damage from this, simply sprint out of her range. The last attack I'll cover is her Force Wave. As she begins this attack, she'll bring her left hand up in a lifting motion. She'll then slam into the ground, causing a force wave to propagate out 360 degrees from her. To avoid taking damage from this attack, simply jump over it. I highly suggest, however, double jumping, as that is the safest method. Keep in mind that all of her phase 1 abilities exist in phase 2, so I won't be covering those again, but respond to them as described earlier to avoid damage. Now there is one final ability that I've not covered yet that exists in both phase 1 and 2, and that's Force Pull. Force Pull has a chance of occurring when you remain beyond melee attack range. At face value, this ability appears to do no damage. However, it does, since you lose force after being pulled, and you're able to heal immediately following the attack. Now that I've covered all of her abilities, let's discuss how to put all that knowledge together to construct a strategy you can use to no damage this boss. There are of course a few ground rules I need to set before we get into it. First and foremost, you must stay targeted to the boss at all times. Second, because of the Force Pull ability, you must stay within melee attack range at all times. Third, during phase 2, you are only allowed to hit her twice per attack opportunity. Now with that out of the way, let's talk about how to pull this off. As you start the encounter, target the Ninth Sister and immediately go aggressive. Utilizing my advice from earlier, you'll attack and dodge her counterattacks, hitting her in between dodges or parries until the cutscene initiates. As the cutscene ends, the Ninth Sister will always start with a charge. Stand still, and as soon as she starts moving, sprint right. As she misses you, slow her hit her twice, and then alternate between slowing and hitting until you have no force left. On the last slow, keep attacking her after the 2 hits to initiate the first QuickTime event. If you do not enter into this QuickTime event, now you run roughly a 20% chance of being unavoidably force pulled if you enter this QuickTime event after this point. The way this works is that after the charge attack, the Ninth Sister is scripted to leap backwards, at which point she'll be able to use every attack described earlier in this guide, including force pull. However, at the start of Phase 2, she's scripted to only use charge. Therefore, if you damage her enough and are able to enter the QuickTime event before the jump back, she'll be unable to use any of her abilities, more importantly force pull. This is an example of her unavoidably force pulling out of this first QuickTime event. Once you finish the first QuickTime event, you'll want to run into her to maintain melee distance. From this point, her attacks are completely random, so you'll need to use what you learned earlier in this guide to respond to whatever she does. However, after the next attack opportunity, you'll want to push the attack past 2 hits to force the second QuickTime event for more free damage. After this QuickTime event, you'll want to simply guard or dodge her attacks as described earlier, hit her after guarding or dodging, and any time you have force slow and hit her twice. Bring her health to 0 and congratulations, this boss fight is complete. This fight takes a lot of practice simply to learn what each attack looks like and the timing in responding to it. All in all though, this fight is fairly straightforward and the more you do it, the easier it will get. Stay tuned for the example fight without commentary where you can see the encounter uninterrupted. Well, hopefully this guide was sufficient enough to help get you started learning how to do this boss fight without taking damage. If you enjoyed this episode of Teach Me How, please consider subscribing to the channel and make sure to like the video. Doing that is the best way for you to tell me that you're enjoying the series, and it helps the channel out a ton. I'll be releasing new episodes every week, so don't forget to turn on notifications so you get to see them as soon as they're put out. If you have anything to share or any feedback for the series, please share them in the comment section below. And with that, as always, thank you for watching and thanks for learning.
So let's make this quick. Can't take a hit? Bring the pain. Back.
Not bad for trash.
What about for a Jedi?
Is there a difference?
This.